Results with Pinterest, Promoted Pins. I'm Steve Etzler with Business Development Institute. I'd like to first thank our speakers, Jasmine Kristen, Pinterest Developer Program Manager, Matt Moran, SocialFlow's Vice President of Product Development, and Craig Pentland, SocialFlow's Vice President of Account Management. I would also like to recognize our sponsor, SocialFlow, for making this event possible. And of course, a big thank you to you, our attendees, for investing your valuable time with us today. We have a simple agenda. The webinar will run for 60 minutes. The introduction presentation will be made by Craig Pentland of SocialFlow. After Craig, there will be a joint presentation by Matt Moran and Jasmine Kristen. The last portion of the webinar will be a moderated question and answer session with you, the audience. We strongly encourage your questions, so please submit them through the GoToWebinar platform. For those of you on Twitter, please use the hashtag #SFPin. That's pound, S as in social, F as in flow, P as in Pinterest, I as in industry, N as in Nancy, so we all may follow the conversation online. The webinar is being recorded, and we will make the recording available after the event on demand. So with that, let's begin. Craig.
Hey everyone, thank you for that intro and thanks very much for joining. All right, so let's just dive right in. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about some fun facts about Pinterest that you may not be aware of. The first thing that sort of pops up is that 2/3 of all content saved by Pinners are coming from brands. So people are out on Pinterest and they're saving content that brands are putting out to them. So just based off different things that you're interested in, they're planning for events, etc. People are going and saving content that's coming from brands.
So it makes it worthwhile for brands to be putting that content out there because there's high engagement with that content that you're putting out onto Pinterest.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. Promoted pins are also evergreen. So that's something that stuck out to us is that these pins are evergreen. They last. Users are, as Matt had said, taking an active interest in them, and then we're finding them to be evergreen.
Yeah, you see it a bit different than what would generally come out on Facebook or Twitter. Obviously, Twitter, much quicker turnaround on content, but things on Pinterest, Halloween comes around every year. Crafts and DIY about Halloween, whether projects around decorations, etc., are always going to be there, and thus are evergreen. So much different timeline for content.
Yeah. And a new bid type, relatively new, something that wasn't available until not too long ago, is a new bid type. Like I said, CPA bidding is now available for a buyable pin. So we'll get more into this a little bit later. But again, it's a unique sort of offering that's just available on Pinterest. Is the idea of a buyable pin and the ability to bid on it on a CPA basis. We're seeing some great engagement rates on Pinterest too. So our campaigns that are running here at SocialFlow, we're seeing engagement rates of about between 2% and 5%. So really strong results on such a new platform that we're really encouraged by.
I'd say also, I don't know that this is in our fun facts, but we see really good conversion rates too, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. We've run a lot of direct response campaigns where we've seen some really strong conversion rates, and when we started to look at like the lifetime value of a customer too, with the type of direct response campaigns that we're doing, and we're starting to see a really compelling story just based off the numbers and results that we're seeing there. So this speaks again to the power of advertising on Pinterest, and another one of the reasons that we're seeing advertisers want to get into doing it is we're seeing an average bump of about 5% of impressions in the month following a campaign. So it's showing, I guess sort of speaking to the fact that these things are evergreen, but we're showing a bump of impressions for these brands about a month or so after the campaign, which again speaks to another one of the benefits of why advertisers should be out there at Pinterest and using it. So again, new bid types available through API partners like SocialFlow.
I guess that would be to differentiate between native and the partners.
Yep, yeah, exactly right. So new bid types available through, like I said, API partners like SocialFlow. These include a CPC option, a CPE, and a CPA. And again, these are all available through API partner like SocialFlow.
And I think that's a distinction I guess people should know, and this could change, and Jasmine can correct us, but generally the native interface has been CPM in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll get into that too. We'll talk about what the conversion funnel typically looks like, and CPM is available native, but these new vid types are available just right now through partners.
Yep.
Thanks, Jasmine. And then, so another interesting fact, so we're finding that 93% of survey respondents have used Pinterest to plan purchases in the last 6 months. So again, this talks to, Matt's earlier point about, when you're planning for Halloween, you're planning a do-it-yourself sort of thing. People are actually going through, taking items, pinning them, and then taking a further action on them, which again speaks to the power of Pinterest advertising.
And yeah, I think some of the interesting stuff there is because Pinterest is, obviously very aspirational. When you're catching these people in the planning phase, you're getting product in front of them when they're making those purchase decisions. But also, I think the very interesting thing too is, when people are doing back to school, and you generally be planning back to school, marketers have a certain time frame for doing that. With Pinterest, it's even a couple months in advance of those usual time frames for holidays, because that's when people are actually putting their plans together.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing people now take a strong interest in Halloween and that sort of thing too. So yeah, it's something we're seeing a lot of.
Generally earlier.
Yeah, so earlier and earlier. And then again, you can also go back to these ideas. To Matt's earlier point, you can go back to next year and see different things that you pin for different events that you have sort of on an annual basis. And then the last thing too is we're really sort of, we're able to now drill down and really start to speak and target the users that you want to reach. So we're able to do that by targeting gender, location, device, and terms and search behavior. So these are options that are available, and these are things that you can do through SocialFlow, either through our self-serve platform or as a managed service with my team. All right, so this, we're sort of moving to conversion funnel and marketing funnel. And we break this down into 3 levels. And Matt and Jasmine obviously jump in. But where we start is up top, so like top of the funnel, right? And that's awareness. So these are typically, standard across other, marketing platforms. But we start with a CPM campaign, right? And that's available directly from Pinterest, as Matt had said. And this is what we typically see to sort of drive awareness and just create awareness around your brand. And sort of start to get out and start to reach your audience.
So yeah, different marketing funnel at different levels, with working with Pinterest and then working with partners. The top of the funnel, obviously awareness. So that's the CPM campaigns that you're running with Pinterest using the cinematic pins. So video type pins as well as classic pins, being able to reserve the CPM. And I think also measurement is awareness-based measurement. So generally it's around brand lift type measurement studies and things like that. So very top of the funnel stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so top of the funnel, again, CPM available direct from Pinterest. But then we start to move down through the funnel and then really sort of, start to talk about driving people to the desired action that we want them to take. So the next layer down is intent, right? So you're able to hit the second level of the funnel by leveraging a CPE campaign. So the CPA campaign with SocialFlow, you can effectively scale these. And go after, sort of these other options that sort of speak to the intent, right? So you can go after a close-up, a repin, a click, and these are the actions that are available through a CPA campaign. Then the lower level would be CPC and CPA, right? So this is all the way towards the bottom of the funnel, and this is where we really start to get into some really cool, unique features for Pinterest. And first, again, speaking about the Bible pin, right? So what we were able to do, the Bible pin enables consumers in the U.S. to buy their favorite Pinterest finds directly through the Pinterest interface. So again, it really speaks to a unique value proposition that's offered through Pinterest only. Again, we have a CPA and Bible pin campaigns. Those are only available working through an advertising partner like SocialFlow. Right now, the Bible pins are only available through retailers who are working with either Demandware or Shopify. But other retailers, we're starting, and Jasmine could probably speak to this more, we're starting to create a wait list for that, or Pinterest is starting to create a wait list for that, and SocialFlow can help add you to that list. All right, so as we're talking about, SocialFlow is a Pinterest Ads API partner. We can speak to some of the benefits that we can do through SocialFlow. The first is we're able to reuse targeting templates that you spent a lot of time, either through my team or on your own, that you spent a lot of time creating. So you can go through, create these campaigns where you're sort of drilling down and targeting the keyword, location, device, etc. And you can save these targeting specs. You can quickly apply them to your campaigns going forward. So you can figure out really sort of what works for you, and then you continue to optimize on that just based off the targeting that you save through our platform. The second feature would be a bulk promotion or bulk creation, basically. Again, through our platform, you're able to create lots of promoted pins very quickly just through our platform by bulk importing different images, descriptions, etc. And what you're able to do is sort of get them up and running very quickly through our tool just by using the bulk create option that we have built directly into our platform. We've also had a lot of success utilizing SocialFlow's optimized targeting. What we're able to do from there is take any sort of keywords that you have or that you may come into SocialFlow with and build upon those by using our optimized targeting to create the best targeting to reach your audience and sort of find good words that will sort of be less competitive.
And that is important because I think right now the interest targeting is a very effective method on Pinterest and one of the recommended ways. And to get the actions that you want, you do want a pretty substantial list of targeting keywords, so it's helpful to have that generated.
Absolutely. We are seeing, and Justin can maybe speak to this more, but we're seeing the best results when you're able to leverage a lot of numerous different keywords. So what we're able to do through optimized targeting is help to inform you of different words that you should use. We're also able to report back specifically on those words, so you can drill down and see performance of specific keywords directly through our platform.
Yeah.
And the last,
you typically see a sweet spot being 20 to 30 keywords per pin.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Jasmine. I would echo that. And again, it speaks to one of the benefits of utilizing our targeting templates. So you can come up with those 20 to 30 keywords and continue to save them and continue to optimize from there too. So you find out what really sort of works and add and subtract keywords as necessary. And then finally, again, speaking to my team's strengths, we have a very skilled services team, and we're seeing excellent results through our platform so far. So what you can do is bring our team on to help manage your spend, optimize these campaigns, and really sort of work with you in a strategic role. And you can also utilize our platform on a self-serve basis as well. So that's another option that you have if you would choose to go that path. All right. So let's start talking about promoted pins, right? So promoted pins, we see there's a couple different value props here again. We can look at a promoted pin, and we can start to talk about intent, right? So we can start to talk about the different value and benefits here. So what this does is a promoted pin is essentially going to enable you to reach the people who are in this consideration mindset by leveraging this promoted pin. So, sort of like talking about what Matt had alluded to earlier, again, talking about users who are starting to plan Halloween, et cetera. You can start to target them when they're starting to consider and start planning these events. So it's sort of like right at top of mind. You're able to get into their feed and grab their interest as they begin to consider it.
Yeah, and really start to judge intent as you're moving through the funnel.
Yep. Another added benefit too, this will give you more buying as well as these promoted, these viable pins. So you're only actually going to be paying on a cost for just basically off the different bid types. You only pay just based off the action that these individuals are taking on Pinterest. So only paying when a person engages with your pin.
So actually very cost effective coming out of the awareness phase.
Yes, exactly right. And sort of, we've hit on this a little bit as well. This is very efficient, and you're able to do this at scale. So you're hitting your audience with the right message at the right time. Again, when they're most willing, it's sort of like a top-of-mind play. So when they're most willing to take an action, you're hitting them at that exact moment in time. And then again, speaking to the strength of what we've seen so far, we're seeing some really great engagement rates. Again, a range between 2 and 5% for these promoted pins that we're seeing so far.
Just want to speak to the Bank of America. It's just interesting coming out after you through the awareness phase. If you're using the awareness piece of the funnel effectively, then when you come into this intent phase and you're bidding, CPE, someone like Bank of America drove significant intent with a 2 times greater than average engagement on that second piece of the funnel campaign.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Matt. So we talked about promoted pins for intent. Now let's talk about promoted pins for action. So again, what we had talked about earlier. You only pay through Pinterest. You only pay for actions that are going to drive impacts, that are going to drive, actions or engagement with your pin. Again, you're reaching audiences as they're expressing intent. You're sort of hitting them when these things are top of mind, and you're going to reach these audiences when they're there. We're driving action in a seamless way. I mean, this is something that we feel fits nicely into the overall Pinterest user experience. These are things that sort of fit seamlessly into that experience. These users are obviously interested in these events, whether it be Halloween, a do-it-yourself sort of campaign or something. We're hitting them so it's seamless for the user.
I think, yeah, not only being seamless, you're making the experience easier and richer for them to go from aspirational into a purchase scenario.
Yep. A really neat feature, too, is we're seeing 12% of conversions come from a repin or a close-up. So again, you know, these promoted pins, after people take action, that's a really great conversion percentage. So we're seeing action being taken after people repin or take a close-up of this. We're seeing action being taken following that. And another stat, too, that we find interesting is 18% of conversions are coming from those earned impressions. So another, I think, benefit of advertising on Pinterest.
You're seeing for a lot of, you know, retailers and brands, and we're going to be seeing it for like even acquisition campaigns for publishers.
Yep.
That, you know, using Pinterest in the correct manner, you're going to get, you know, generally better results in many cases than you would off the other platforms. So an example, Citrus Lane purchases are 3 times larger than purchases from other platforms. Just like when you're contextually relevant and people are on Pinterest, you know, putting together these purchasing decisions, there's potentially a much bigger return when used in the right way.
All right. So getting back to social flow and how we can help increase your campaign performance, we can help you keep creative fresh and also take advantage of seasonal messaging. Again, our team is out there sort of, you know, optimizing these campaigns and also serving to help you strategically as well. So determine your KPIs and, you know, continue to optimize from there. So we can help you with that. Also, too, we're able to, you know, really sort of, you know, optimize on the fly, right? So we're able to help you enhance your creative or copy based off what's resonating best with your audience. Again, through our platform, we can create literally dozens of variants of your promoted pins and then optimize from there. So what we're essentially enabling you to do is enhance your creative and copy just based off what we see performing best amongst your targeted audience. And finally, our campaign managers, again, we will help you sort of like drill down and, again, figure out what's working. So we continue to optimize your campaigns. We're able to drill down, even look on a keyword basis where we can see, you know, how well each keyword is performing, how well each targeting set is performing, and then continue to optimize from there just to make sure that you're hitting your KPIs as we move this thing forward. All right.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, thanks.
That was great. Thanks for the presentation. So this is me, Matt Moran, VP Product Development. I'm going to have a little Q&A with Jasmine now, just really about the benefits of Pinterest, you know, beyond the partners, including the partners and on Pinterest itself. So a little bit of history. You know, Jasmine, from your perspective, what's really been the drivers between, you know, Pinterest's strong growth historically and recently?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Matt. So I think that the core Pinterest growth can be attributed to its unique value for both pinners and marketers. So what I mean by that is for pinners, Pinterest really is a tool. It's the only platform where an audience is there to plan their future. They're an audience that's looking forward. It's not about sharing the past or reading about the present. It's about having this tool in a place where, you know, pinners can write their own story, where they can talk about what they want to do next, get inspired by other people with similar goals, interests, and needs. And for marketers, a pin is the strongest signal of intent that a brand can have. On Pinterest, marketers get to take advantage of what is in effect the world's largest, most actionable focus group. And pinners are there telling them what the best way to message their brand and their products is. So they're showing how they want to organize their products and services into their lives. And I think just that really organic experience and unique value proposition is what's fueled the growth up until now, and I think what's going to continue to fuel it moving forward.
Yeah, and that seems like that experience plays nicely between the you know, organic growth that you guys had seen, and then also sort of the paid experience as well, which kind of segues a little bit into this next question. So any continuation on that, and just, how are you seeing the promoted pins aiding the organic Pinterest presence that people may have built up already?
Yeah. So what's really interesting about promoted pins is that they really do look just like organic pins. The only difference really is that they're seen by more people through targeted placement. So they're a very natural part of the pinner experience and perform just as well, if not better, than organic pins. They amplify reach to relevant audiences, showing up in the same places as organic content with the term targeting that we talked about. Therefore, the way I look at it is as a brand invests in promoted pins, they're not only getting to invest in their marketing goals, awareness, intent, or action, it's also an investment in their organic Pinterest presence.
That makes sense. That's great. Any interesting, Pinterest user behaviors that you guys find, around the promoted content, even versus the organic content, or in general, but things that stand out, in your perspective on the way people use Pinterest?
Yeah, so Pinterest, we think of, pinners having 3 core behaviors. So pinners are coming to Pinterest to do 3 things: discover, save, and take action on content. And internally, we call taking action do. So for discovering, what we mean by that is Pinterest is helping people discover things in a really simple and visual way with pins. Pinners might find something they love while browsing through a category feed, home feed, or through search, the 3 places where promoted pins have the ability to show up. And then saving, being basically boards and pins, are a way for pinners to collect and organize products and services that they're interested in. Pinners are raising their hands and saying, hey, here's something that I want to come back and possibly purchase or interact with or use later. And each board is telling a really unique and handcrafted story about what that person cares about. And then the last thing being taking action. So pinners are coming to Pinterest to actually do, and this is the part that's really unique to the platform. They're moving from online to offline. So whether that means doing or taking action by installing an app, by making a purchase, or by using rich pins, set data about a recipe to then cook the recipe offline. And I think that's what really fuels pinners' love of the product. They're getting an actual fulfillment out of it.
So that does make sense. It does seem like people are, when they do get into Pinterest, there's a pretty loyal following for who's there because of the benefits that it provides. One of the things that does keep being brought up about the evergreen, about the pins themselves and promoted pins, is their evergreen nature, which is so. Really, to me, people do have evergreen content, but just the nature of the way that's usually shared on other social networks is so different that the product there, the content shared on other networks tends to have just such a short lifespan. So just going back into that a little bit more, what would you say downstream benefits of this unique sort of evergreen type ad product? What are they? And for Pinterest and for Pinterest advertisers?
Yeah. So I think that you nailed it on the head. Having an evergreen ad product is really one of the core differentiators to promoted pins. And so when we use the word evergreen, what we're talking about is the fact that a pin lasts forever, whether it's organic or promoted. Once it's out there on Pinterest and then has been repinned, those repins grow exponentially as the audience that sees the pin is amplified. And as that pin goes on, the description may change, but the image and the link aren't. And so that's a really unique type of digital media for marketers, because simply doing something as small as putting your brand logo on that image allows you to have this piece of content that's out there that can live on forever and constantly carry your brand with it. In addition to that, for promoted pins, what we find is because they're evergreen and last forever, engagement and performance continue long after a promoted pin campaign ends. We can see even a 5% average bump in earned impressions 1 month after a campaign ends. And so what we ask of brands is to think about, monitoring CPA way past the normal attribution window, possibly more than 30 days, because we're seeing such an interesting decrease over long periods of time after the campaign stop date. But in addition to that, you can think of having a really unique opportunity with when you do a very successful campaign for some seasonal events, let's say for Halloween, which you mentioned earlier, you have the opportunity to see a bump in engagement with those pins a year out when Halloween comes back around. And that for brands is just really huge to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that is really interesting. It's actually something that we're sort of getting used to as well, because we over here we have experience with advertising and organic publishing on other platforms, and we do see for brands and publishers, etc. The need to constantly keep creating these creating new content becomes this race to continually sort of like feed this beast or get stuff out there. And on Pinterest, it's a different opportunity, and where people have been trying to find these opportunities to reuse content on the other on other platforms. On Pinterest, it comes very naturally, and I think it is something that people have been kind of like looking to be able to do. So nice that that opportunity is presented here.
Yeah.
So beyond the evergreen aspects, are there any other unique ideas or aspects to Pinterest promoted pins beyond that, the evergreen piece?
Yeah. So in addition to promoted pins being evergreen, I think it's just what we talked about a little bit earlier of how seamlessly integrated they are into the experience, how they look the same, they feel the same to pinners as an organic pin, and they're only enriching the pinner experience by being placed better in different places for discovery. And because of that, what's unique is I think the strong engagement that we've seen to date. So because pins are the currency pinners are using to plan their futures, whether organic or promoted, engagement has just been really high, especially on mobile, which is where the majority of engagement for Pinterest happens today. Promoted pins see engagement rates of 2 to 5%, like we talked about, which is well above the industry average. And all of this engagement results in up to 30% earned impressions during a campaign.
That's really interesting. I remember when we first started talking to you guys about creating an integration with the Ads API, that the amount of mobile engagement was really impressive to me, and I was surprised at well, not necessarily surprised, but pleasantly surprised by the amount of engagement that you guys get, and just the viewing of pins and how much people do in feed on mobile versus desktop.
Yeah.
So just to go a little bit into the content types, in general, on Pinterest as compared to other platforms, what are the best content types to engage with users, or to get the results in the different pieces of the funnel where you're trying to reach certain goals? What type of content resonates most with Pinterest users?
Yeah, so actually we've seen content really just have high performance across the bar with different verticals. So we've seen high performance in over 12 verticals from nearly everything from retail to CPG to financial services to automotive. So what I would say is more important than the content itself is how you're thinking about the creative and making it useful for pinners. So what we mean by useful is adding in the context of how a pinner can then take action on that service or product. So making the link useful, and then also making the image itself possibly useful with things like text overlay or a very descriptive pin description.
Cool. So, user flow or user experience, like end-to-end, if you could elaborate, how would you see, like, what a brand should do to create that optimal end-to-end user experience for the people that they're trying to attract?
So I think it breaks down into 3 main categories. The first being making pins useful, which I kind of touched on. So descriptions are really key on promoted pins. It's a brand's opportunity to provide context on the image. The best descriptions make pins more aspirational with enough extra information to make them actionable. Even one descriptive sentence can make a huge difference for a pin's performance. An informative pins see up to 30% higher engagement compared to those that aren't. And we've seen that really the one key differentiator with a successful promoted pin and a non-successful promoted pin is this kind of categorization of being useful. And then the second category being, experiment with tasteful branding. Promoting high-quality, vertically oriented images that a brand already has from their website, their blog, other channels, and then just adding a logo to that pin so that pinners know that the pin is credible and they know where they can go to learn more about that brand. And again, that image then will have the logo and live on forever as that image gets repinned, and maybe the pin description may change down the line by some other pinner, but that image will always have the logo on it. And making sure that it's large enough to be seen in the grid view on mobile, because that's where the majority of our engagement is really important. The one thing I would say with adding logo is make sure you do it tastefully. We have found that you can receive 27% lower engagement if a pin looks like an ad, but that when pins have the logo in a very tasteful way, it actually does increase engagement. So there's a fine line there. And then the third thing being linking somewhere useful. So we really are, as brands, we're holding an opportunity here to increase the pinner experience, to enrich it, and allow pinners to take action on the pins that they find. And there's nothing more disappointing than having a pin that you really want to then engage with, and you don't have a really high quality link experience. So each promoted pin should link somewhere to some site that helps the pinner learn and do more with the image that they're looking at. We have an entire team at Pinterest that focuses on link quality. And making sure that all of your links as a brand work on mobile is really important because, like I said, that's where the majority of engagement is. And then using that click-through as a chance to add stronger messages around your products and services, helping pinners take action and convert on your brand site.
That's super helpful. And then that was a lot of very useful information for brands. So I'm just curious, beyond that, like any other just super pro tips or tricks that you have in mind to even help brands push it further over the edge into the end zone?
Yeah, so I think we've definitely talked about this a little bit, but just to hone home is, it's all about creative with Pinterest. Really, the difference between a successful promoted pin campaign and a non-successful one is how you think about that creative. And what we found is there's 6 ways that are pretty easy and tactical ways to create better creative pins for promoting. And so our 6 ways are: 1, detailed descriptions; 2, step-by-step instructions and how-tos; 3, lists. They do really well on Pinterest, having a list within the image or underneath in the pin description. 4, text overlay is great when tasteful. 5, tasteful branding, which we covered a little bit. And then 6, colors and settings that convey your brand so that the image has a feel of your brand. And I think those are all just really easy ways to enhance creative. In addition to that, some other, pro tips that our creative strategy talks about is using vertical pins, making sure to not use amateur or user-generated content. Pinners are coming to Pinterest with the intent to be seeing commercial content, which is a super unique experience for marketers to be able to repurpose that commercial content because it's exactly what a pinner wants. So make sure to take advantage of that opportunity. And then in addition to that, just making sure that pins don't look like banner ads, avoid borders, blocks, or really distracting text. That obviously doesn't do well. Like I said, 27% less engagement when a pin looks like an ad. And then hashtags and don't do very well in Pinterest and are not received well by the pinner audience. That's not part of the platform, and it's not what pinners are coming to Pinterest to look at. So we recommend you don't use hashtags. And the last thing being, think about really just enhancing the description by how useful it is. If you're adding new information, that's really valuable, but don't just type a longer description to make a longer description.
Thanks, Jasmine. That was a really in-depth lot of information. Thanks so much for helping out with this Q&A and having this discussion with us.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going, and thanks for joining us from London. I know it's like a different time over there than on the East Coast. So I appreciate that quite a bit. And I'm going to give it over to Steve to do some of the audience Q&A that was recorded during that session.
Yeah, sure.
Great session. Thanks, Matt, Jasmine, Craig. Good job on that. So we have some interesting questions from the audience that we're going to serve up for you. First off, hang on one second as I get these up. Can you please explain, this comes from Michelle, one of our attendees, can you please explain what you're considering in the engagement rate? Is it clicks, repins, etc.?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, is this a question for social flow or?
I think, Jasmine, if you want to take a crack, go ahead and then we can follow up.
Yeah. So for engagement rate, there's three different types of engagement that we're measuring with CPE bid type, and that's close-ups, repins, and clicks. So we aggregate that into one engagement rate, and then you can also break that apart. And then for action buying, so CPC and CPA, there's three different actions that we're looking at, and that's clicks, installs, or purchases. And so similarly, you can look at the engagement rate on each of those.
Great. Did any of the social flow guys want to add to that, or is that pretty much the answer?
I think that's the exact
I think that
answer.
sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Move on. So Anne, and there now the questions are coming in fast and furious. So Anne says,
Great.
What's the best practice for following back?
That's a Jasmine question, I think.
Sorry, for what? For following back?
Yeah. What's like the best practices for following back? Does that question make sense to you?
No, I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. Maybe
it might be around, I think that might be something around organic, like if you're trying to get follow backs on a specific board or something like that,
Yeah,
which I would say that may be TBD on Pinterest, and
okay.
Something we could follow up on later and try to look at some response. But
Sure.
I think something that we're not so familiar with on our end because we're dealing mainly with the ad side at this point.
Sure. Carter asked, how could B2B companies use promoted pins? Are there any good examples of business-to-business companies using promoted pins?
Yeah, so on our Pinterest business site, actually, we have quite a large number of case studies that we've done with different types of companies, everything from retail to CPG to B2B, and there's a few up there to look at how they've increased their awareness or specific service releases with different Pinterest buying options.
Great. So here's a combined question, again from Carter, but also
types, which then can be promoted via CPE, CPC, or CPA, or sorry, CPE and CPC, not CPA, buying through social flow. And rich pins are basically a classic pin format with an extra layer of data that is enabled through a integration that advertisers can actually go ahead and build themselves with the information located on Pinterest business website under tools and then under the rich pins tab. And then rich pins have 5 different categories, and that's article pins, movie pins, products, places, and what's the last one that I'm forgetting, guys? Oh, recipes. So that's the rich pins. So they're really just, you know, kind of a enhanced pin that allows pinners to take action on a pin really easily. So for an article pin, for example, you'll see the ingredients for a recipe underneath the pin within the close-up view without having to necessarily click through then to the article. And what was one of the other ones? Animated? Was that
Yes.
what everyone's talking about? So for animated pins, today we have the cinematic pin, which is a way to create a strong visual impact and say more with the use of motion. You can reach a future-focused audience in a made-for-mobile format, but the cinematic pin today is only available through CPM buying, which is not available through an API partner. It's only available through buying from Pinterest, and is geared towards the awareness format. And that's our motion-oriented view right now. What's special about the cinematic pin is that the motion is actually geared towards as you browse or scroll over the pin. The motion is timed to the time at which you're scrolling. So it slows down or speeds up the motion of the pin. And what was the last pin type to talk about?
Vertical.
Or was that it? Vertical. So I think by vertical we probably mean standard pins. So standard or classic pins are the same for organic or promoted, and that is the standard pin type that can be promoted across basically any of the buying options.
Well, thanks for breaking all those down for us. So Georgiana has a question. So many users pin, then forget about their pins. How can brands keep their pin top of mind without it getting buried?
Yeah, so I think that having that brand logo or some text overlay on a pin is a really powerful way to be rediscovered in the browsing that a pinner does within their boards or through their recently pinned pin view within their profile. So what we're seeing is that pinners are coming to Pinterest to discover the content and save it, and then they're going back to their boards to go through and to choose one of the recipes that they pin to their recipe board for the weekend. And so if you want your pin to be rediscovered, a great way to do that is to create the richest creative and usefulness in that creative for the pinner so that they're drawn to it again to take action or to re-engage with the pin.
Thanks. Mugda asks, how do brands join the Pinterest ad program? How does the waitlisting work?
The Pinterest what, sorry?
Advertising program? She's referring to a wait list. Is that relevant to you?
Pinterest advertising program. So today, if you want to buy any of the intent buying options, which would be CPE, action buying options, which would be CPC or CPA, then you can either reach out to Pinterest via the business site where you can go and see there's a promoted pin sign-up page, and then you'll be connected with someone on the Pinterest sales team, and they'll help you choose an API partner, or you can actually go to the Marketing Developer Partners website within Pinterest, and you can see all of the API partners that we have today, one of which is SocialFlow, and you can sign up with them to take action on any of those buying options. If you're interested in our CPM ad product, which is Pinterest only, then you would have to go through the Pinterest business website to get set up with someone on our sales team.
Great. Jesse wants to know, is there a certain time of day brands should be pinning? How do you optimize the timing of pinning?
Yeah, so some of our partners have been experimenting with, on a brand-by-brand basis, being able to look at possibly certain times of day for pinning being best for that brand. But overall, we've looked at hundreds of thousands of pins, and really the key differentiator between a pin being successful and not successful is that factor of them being useful or not. And we haven't found that for all brands there's an answer correlating to a certain time of day or a certain image size or color or exactly that will boost engagement.
Sarah asks, do you have any notable campaigns that you could reference that are political or from nonprofit organizations?
Political or from nonprofit organizations. Is this for SocialFlow or for me?
Well, Jasmine, if you guys have it, I mean, we've kind of specialized more in retail.
Yeah, it's been retail mostly for us.
Stuff, brands, and then some publishing acquisition stuff in hospitality. We haven't personally, I mean, on Pinterest, we've done political campaigns on other platforms. We haven't done them on Pinterest, so I don't know if you know offhand if you guys have done anything. If not, you know, that's cool too. But yeah, we haven't personally run any.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm not able to reference one, but if you go to our business website, that has the biggest, I think, variance of all different types of companies, campaigns that have been run for everything from movie launches, celebrity, you know, publicity things. So there may be something about politics or nonprofits.
But you know, and I would say to the person who wants to run those, you know, doing that on Pinterest would make sense, and you may be an innovator in that area if you don't see it having happened before. But being that, you know, Pinterest is a great place for awareness, and there's, you know, specific demographics that you'd be able to reach extremely effectively. You know, if and when Pinterest is open to running those, because I can't say that they definitely are, I could certainly see that making sense for political campaigns, and depending on the nonprofit, for nonprofit type of ads.
Yeah,
Great.
definitely. With that consideration mindset, I think it's a real good match.
Yeah, I would think that nonprofits, especially, may have strong interest, you know, to show visually all the good work that they're doing. Could be a really powerful platform to do that, I would think. So the next question is from Sean. This isn't advertising related, but curious, since we're now able to purchase ads via SocialFlow, is the day near where we can publish to Pinterest via SocialFlow?
So yes, that's a great question. We are in the Ads API program. We will have partners who will publish organic pins through us. In order to make a promoted pin, you need to be able to create an organic pin. So it is something that is available and that we will be rolling out with many of our publisher clients.
Super. Another question for SocialFlow from Taylor. Does SocialFlow support cinematic pins?
So this is Craig. Yeah, we support the promotion of those. but the building right now we haven't yet completed, but we are able to promote those.
So if you have those pins available and up, you'd be able to select them and promote. But creation and putting them onto Pinterest, not yet, but I don't think that an API endpoint for that is available yet. But when and if that does become available, we would certainly integrate that as soon as it was available.
Wait, sorry guys. Can you hear me? I cut out there for a second and I was off.
Oh, we missed it. Yeah.
Yes, welcome
Go
back.
ahead.
Yeah.
Please correct us also if we were off the reservation on that one.
Yeah,
Go
of
ahead.
course.
Okay.
Cinematic pins require an extra process of creating today, and they're only available via CPM buying, which is only available via the Pinterest team with our native tool. So they
Okay, so
cannot
distinction
be.
between the animated and the cinematic.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, so a distinction between the cinematic pins and the other pin types. So let me go back on misunderstanding there. So work directly with Pinterest on cinematic pins, getting them into Pinterest and promotion. And if it does become available to partners, we'll certainly integrate it, but not at this time for Social Flow.
Next question is also for Pinterest. Is there a way that you can get your Pinterest page verified?
Yeah, so we recently actually made a update to our verification process, and you can find that on our Pinterest business site for how to verify your website.
Great. Well, that actually is our final question, and we're almost out of time. So I'd like to thank all of our speakers again. Jasmine Christen, Pinterest Developer Program Manager, who joined us across the pond in London, so thanks for staying with us into your evening. We appreciate that. Matt Moran, Social Flow's VP of Product Development, Craig Pentland, Social Flow's VP of Account Management, and of course, thank you to you, our audience. Again, the webinar has been recorded. You'll be able to view it on demand and share it with others, and we hope to have you participate in future events. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.